Okay, so welcome back to the channel. Sorry for the lack of uploads, especially rugby uploads. It's been a hectic few months with moving into a new flat, Christmas just around the corner, but it's back. This is a new show on the channel. I hope you're excited. It's a show which is going to be looking back at the past week of rugby, just really getting out what I think about what's been going on over the past week. Some interesting stories you may have heard about, so definitely get involved in the comments on those, and maybe some ones that you may not have heard of, and hopefully you'll find them interesting. We're going to start in Wales. I'm wearing a Dragon shirt. We're going to get to them in a second. We're going to start with the Scarlets with a huge signing of Liam Williams from Saracens. He joins the club. He will join next season for a reported fee of around £400,000. Big questions, why is he signed? Why is he signed for the Scarlets? He's at one of the best clubs in the world, and they've just won the Gallagher Premiership, of course, last season, and also the champions of the Champions Cup. They've won that in the past few years as well. It makes sense for him to come home for a few reasons. One, the Scarlets are a team that play fantastic rugby, although there's question marks about the head coach, which we'll also get to later. But the fact is, Saracens have got this points deduction. They're not going to qualify for Europe next season. They still could potentially get relegated, which seems unlikely. But he's won everything he's wanted to win over at Saracens. He's won the league and he's won the Champions Cup, and he's one of the best players in the world in my opinion, and so it makes sense for him to come back to the Scarlets. That then raises the question of what happens to Halfpenny. Do you need two world-class fullbacks who can both play on the wing as well, but most comfortably probably at fullback? Do you need two world-class players at the Scarlets? Can they afford the wages? The CVC money will probably come in handy to make the signature possible, but do you need two world-class players down at the Scarlets in the same position? Could open the door for Halfpenny to move to another club. Moving on then, keeping on, no, I can't talk. Anyway, let's carry on. The Scarlets, big talks this week about Brad Moore, your head coach, possibly leaving the region, heading over to New Zealand at the end of the season to become the assistant attacking coach to Ian Foster at the All Blacks. It's a big blow for the Scarlets. The Scarlets have been playing really well. I've spoken to a lot of Scarlets fans who really like Brad Moore as a person. Who he's come in, he's really integrated into the community, he's learning a little bit of Welsh, playing some fantastic rugby, extremely positive about the state of rugby in Wales, but also about the state of the Scarlets and what they can achieve this season. It's just been a few months and yet there's talk of him leaving. Will he go? It looks likely like he is. It's an incredible opportunity for him. He's going down to the All Blacks, the best team in world rugby probably over the past 10 years or so, although South Africa would argue that this year. It's an incredible opportunity for him, and being a New Zealander himself, it will be very difficult for him to turn this opportunity down. It's very frustrating, I guess, as Scarlets fans to be losing someone of his ability, but you can't really blame him for taking that option, and it looks likely like he will. Scarlets fans, let me know your thoughts down below. Liam Williams coming in, but Brad Moore possibly exiting the club. Let me know your thoughts down below. We're going to head over to England now. Cal Sinclair looks likely to be leaving the Harlequins, joining up with either Bristol or Gloucester. Bristol Bears have been fantastic this season. They've made some really incredible signings over the past few years, and it looks possibly like Cal Sinclair could be joining them. Very interesting. We're going to move on to Scotland now, to Scotland. I can't really do the Scottish accent very well. It's not very good, I can tell, but Greg Laidlaw has called time on his international career. What a fantastic career he has had. Some people would say the Scotland team has underachieved. I personally believe they have. They've got an incredible side, and he has decided to call time on his international career. We'll be interested to see who steps into his shoes at number 9 and as the captain. He's an incredible goal kicker, so they'll certainly miss that aspect. But his playing style, will they truly miss it? Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts, Scotland fans, on Greg Laidlaw's decision to end his international career. Next up, we're going to talk about Georgian Rugby. Not something we usually talk about on the channel here, but Georgian Rugby have signed a deal with South African Rugby, an 11-year deal, which will see their team from Tbilisi, their capital city, play in the Currie Cup. But this is really interesting because Georgia have always been talked about as potential to be playing in the Six Nations, to either join in or create a relegation form. So more than likely be Italy will play Georgia, the winner of that play in the Six Nations, and the loser of that would play in the other tournament in Europe, which has the likes of Romania, Russia, Portugal, Spain, and a few other sides in there. It'd be interesting to see what this deal means for Georgia. How much is their money going to be pumped into the Georgian game? Is it just a bit of exposure so they play against top level teams, or is it just going to be something that doesn't really work? It'd be interesting to see and to see how that one goes. Scarlets over the weekend. I'm not a Scarlets fan or a Dragons fan. I'm actually an Ospreys fan. We lost to the Cardiff Blues. We're still looking for a head coach, so I'll leave an email there for you to go and apply for it, because it seems like they're not doing much about it at the minute. But the Dragons got a brilliant win, and they've made some really great steps with Dean Ryan in charge. They've really they're showing a lot of good skill, but also they've gone back to basics. That's what I feel, and they're putting in some big tackles, getting over the game line, getting clean ball, and really using their important players. Talking about the Dragons, Ross Moriarty heavily linked with a move to the Ospreys this week. That will be interesting if that happens, but you have to be honest, Dragons have some really good players in that back row. Wainwright, Moriarty, and Ollie Griffiths when he's back fit. Really good back three. The only problem with that is when the Six Nations comes round, if all three of them are fit, then you'd expect at least Wainwright and Moriarty to be picked for that, and possibly even Ollie Griffiths. So you do worry for the Dragons in that department. If one of them get picked for the national team, or all three of them, then they could be struggling. But Moriarty to the Ospreys look thin on the ground in those positions, so it makes sense to go in for him. Would it be a good move for Moriarty? Well, looking at the state of the Ospreys at the minute, no. I'm looking at the state of the Dragons, and the Dragons are going on the up, then yes. But it'd be interesting to see whether that happens. So there you go, that's the news from this week. So we've had from Laidlaw, we've had to the Dragons, we've also had a look at Liam Williams' new team for the Scarlets. If you have enjoyed, do subscribe and leave a like on the video. I'll see you next week.